Alright, so I've used Spirit Dive Yuno a lot on JP. I've fought him a lot. I've seen how the meta has been evolving. And I think it's time to make this video. I honestly think out of the 4 fests we have in this game, this is the first one you could safely skip without a single problem in the world, okay? Now, as of recording this video and when he's going to be out on global, there could be some big changes. And one main one is that anniversary is going to be out and we're going to have to see how the meta evolves. So I'm going to throw out a lot of my thoughts as to how exactly Yuno is and how he might be in the future. And I think he does have some pretty good value. And I do want to just talk about a couple of things, right? So first of all, Yuno's placement. Okay, Yuno's placement on Pride Win is S, and this is something that I mean I told Antelar like yo he's just S tier, right? Like he's nothing crazy, and on paper he is amazing, right? Now the thing is, this is not something that I did with Faint of Heart, right? Like this was something that I made sure to use him a lot, test him a lot, fight against him, ask a bunch of people, see what they thought, see if they thought he was good, and S is the highest I could give him, and it's not exactly like S is fine, right? But it's not meaning that he is anything insane. And there's a couple different, well, fuck off, Wave. There's a couple different reasons as to that, okay? Now, one unfortunate thing about Spirit Dive, okay, is the fact that how he was made, okay? I don't know what's going on with my Opera, but there we go. So, he's actually very good, and for PvE, he will be very nice, right? Now, we need units that help the PvP meta, okay? That's one big thing. The PvP meta is something that we need to constantly advance. Now, what he does good is basically just, I mean, his whole kit is actually very good. On paper, he is a very good unit. He's a very fun unit, but he's not a unit that changes PvP in any way. So at max stoop, he's at 109 speed, and he gets a lot of different stuff. So he is able to get different buffs and extra buffs if he has Spirit Dive. Now, how he gets Spirit Dive buff is from the alt, which is going to allow his skill 1 and 2 to get extra buffs. So the skill 1 puts 15% mobility reduction outright, and if he has Spirit Dive, gets increased speed. Now, skill 2 puts 50% mobility reduction AoE, and with Spirit Dive, puts silence on a designated enemy for 1 turn, and then with the skill page puts barrier immunity, which we're going to come back to later. Now, the alt puts obviously the Spirit Dive, gives total silence for 2 turns, and then also puts 20% speed increase for himself. And then his combo puts immortality removal. So looking at this on paper, very good, right? Very, very good. Now, the passive is going to be giving you Blessing of the Wind Spirit, which automatically removes total silence. I think it's just silence. I think it's silence or total silence. Or is it just, I don't know. Anyway, it's going to be removing total silence once. It blocks it once per battle, and then every time it's your turn, it gives 10% damage increase up to 5 times. Now, at max stoop, that becomes 20% damage increase per turn, up to 100%, which is pretty good. So you either get 50% without max stoop or 100% with max stoop after 5 turns. And then, obviously, dupe 2 is going to be giving him invulnerability when he gets Spirit Dive. So his kit is constructed to where he's able to give himself some amount of survivability, and he will be pretty good, but against pretty much any team but mono blue, he's just not really needed, right? He's actually very good, which is why he's in S tier. But he doesn't change the meta. He doesn't make new teams. He doesn't win you games, right? I mean, he could win you some games, but it's not like he himself is going to drive forward some teams that are going to do that. For example, Julius, when it was his time, was just single-handedly destroying everything. Same with Black Asta. He's able to just go crazy, okay? On mono red, off mono red, he could apply defensive like a bunch of defensive buffs. On mono red, he's an amazing DPS and just rules the world. And then Mario is able to be a defensive monster and also allow for everyone to get a bunch of stuff, right? Support very well, while also being able to just control the court, right? She's able to apply her taunts, stop stuns, okay, and apply as many burns as she wants to allow the other DPSs to go crazy. But not Julius, Yuno doesn't have that level of control over the field. He has his total silence, which is very good. But then you look at it, and Mario's on so many teams, and a lot of the times he's going to be taunted on Mario. So turn 1, you can't really get this total silence in. Okay, that's fine. He gets to reduce mobility, but then debuff block also exists. And then if he's forced to target Mario with the silence, it's not really as worth it. Now, this invulnerability is very strong, but a lot of the times it won't come into play. And the other thing is, he was meant to kind of counteract mono blue. The problem with that is how few people actually build mono blue. Okay? Who's actually going to build a full new team? Who's going to get William up? Who's going to get Zora up? Who's going to get Nozel up? Who's going to get Noel up? Who's going to get Luck up? And the other problem is how they actually released a mono blue team. They released William, a core part of the mono blue, when Mario was reigning over everything, when Mario was just super strong, when Zora wasn't out. So it was like, shit, why am I going to go for William if the team sucks? Because back then the team sucked. So not many people invested into Mono Blue, and overall, Mono Blue itself is a very good team. But it becomes a very good team once there's high investment on Noel and Zora. So because of that, you won't see Mono Blue a lot, which forced Yuno to just not be good. And the other part about Mono Blue is that it was the last one to be built. First was Mono Red, second was Mono Green, and then Mono Blue. But, well, in the reform after Black Asta. But the thing is with Mono Blue is that it was the last one. Why would you summon for a team that is pretty good, but it's not necessary compared to Mono Green or Mono Blue? So that was the whole point as to why Yuno just didn't really get much time to shine, okay? He just didn't really provide much, and honestly is not someone you need to summon for, okay? It's just hard for me to recommend it when Mono Red is still very prevalent, when Asta destroys them, right? When Mario is able to be a big counter to this Yuno, and when this Yuno also needs a lot of investment for him to be just good, right? You do need him to be very high investment. And it's like, why would I recommend you to go high investment unless you just love this unit? Because he is actually pretty good, okay? I'm not saying he's bad, okay? He's usable, but it's just not his time. That's the problem. And if we were lucky, if Mono Blue was ran more, then I for sure would recommend Yuno to be used. But that's just not the case, okay? Yuno for sure is one of the biggest problems for me when I fight with my Mono Blue team, because he has a vulnerability on him. It's just very hard to really go around and all that stuff, right? He does have some good teams, okay? You are able to use him with Black Asta and with Witch Queen, and then you're able to make some funny team comps where he removes immortality, and then he's going to be able to do pretty good stuff. But what was he lacking? Okay, let me talk about what I think he needed. A bit more speed, first of all, okay? Second of all, I think he needed more damage. Maybe it should have been 20% up to 30%. I think would have been pretty good, in my opinion. This invulnerability probably should have been 2 turns, and then he would have been good. Now, would that have made him broken? Yes. Now, what they could have done is made it harder to get his ult, but make this invulnerability for 2 turns, and that's probably what I would have done. I think it would have made more sense. Okay. Now, one thing is that we have this to talk about. This barrier immunity is very important. And why is it important? Because of what I'm about to pull out in a couple of seconds, if I could find it. Vanilla server, please open. It's this. Now, this is the skill icon for Noel skill 2, titled, if I could try and find it. Let me see what exactly it is. But it's something along the lines of barrier. Okay. It is called hold on. It is called Sea Dragon Barrier. That is the name of this skill. And this is Valkyrie Noel's skill. We don't know what her kit is. We don't know Valkyrie's skill, but we know that Valkyrie Noel has a barrier. And if Valkyrie Noel is blue, it would make total sense that this Yuno is meant to counter this unit. Now, how I could see it work is that Asta is easily able to counter Yuno, but then Noel is easily able to counter Asta, and then Yuno is easily able to counter Noel. So there's a kind of like rock, paper, scissors, keep like place in check, so that Yuno in the future will have a place with this barrier immunity. It's an AoE barrier immunity, and Noel, she might have barrier immunity block. Like, she might stop her barriers from being blocked, kind of like debuff immunity, but for barriers, right? That's how I could see it. But I just can't imagine they released this Yuno without a clear purpose. And as of right now, there's just not a clear purpose. They tried to give him a mono red counter with this total silence block, but Yuno still pushes this Yuno back, and then Yuno still gets cooked. So it's very hard to really play around a lot. I genuinely think this Yuno should be skipped unless we find out he's the biggest counter to Valkyrie Noel. I don't think it's going to be worth it as of right now. We'll have to see, but it sucks. He's the first unit that doesn't feel oppressive. That's the main thing. On paper, he looks great, but when you play him, he's just not oppressive. So we have to hope that maybe in the future, because they do stuff like this, but because he's a fast unit, it just feels wrong how they did him. I feel like he was done dirty. done completely dirty. And the fact that he's the 4th best unit in the game, like, it's not like there's a lot of these. It's the 4th one. So they probably should have done something better for him. But anyway, I don't know. I have nothing more to say. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.